Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Bob Arum has continued to pour cold water on Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. He even said that he and Tyson Fury had flew to mediation for the Wilder dispute, and he said those talks and negotiations could easily turn into fight negotiations. So he is talking up the idea of Tyson Fury fighting Deontay Wilder once again. Now, this is strange because Tyson Fury said he never wanted to step in the ring with Deontay Wilder once again because of what he said following their second fight, and all of the excuses he made, and allegations towards Tyson Fury. But there is no bigger fight out there for Tyson Fury, or is there? I would say that I'd rather see Tyson Fury face Dillian Whyte if he is unable to face Anthony Joshua. I mean, apparently that site deal is a mirage according to Bob Arum. I mean, we don't know how much truth is in that. We don't know how much truth was even in the site deal in the first place because we're not really in the loop. But I guess the only thing that we can do is take Anthony Joshua's word for it. I'd say, yeah, just Anthony Joshua. I mean, Tyson Fury does go back and forth. So when Anthony Joshua says something, that's when you can believe it, because we go back and forth with what Eddie Hearn said and what Bob Arum says. And you don't know who to believe. One says the fight's not going to happen, and he is extremely skeptical. Then there's Eddie Hearn saying, yeah, the fight's going to happen, don't worry, it's on the doorstep, we're nearly there. So it is strange how they're not on the same page. They were for a day, maybe two, and that was about it. They're not on the same page anymore, and now Bob Arum is talking about Deontay Wilder again. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not interested in Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3, because I just don't see the point. I think that Tyson Fury won the first one, in my opinion, in the opinion of many too, and he definitively won the second one, so why do it again? I mean, if Wilder puts together a good performance, a good win, maybe a good couple of wins, then they can talk about it. But at the moment, I don't really see the angle of it, and I'm not really believing that Deontay Wilder is going to want to get back in there with Tyson Fury, given the inactivity and considering he lost. I mean, I know that Tyson Fury has the same amount of inactivity, but he won the fight. Wilder is likely going to need a fight or two to get back to Tyson Fury, and I just believe that in the meantime, if Tyson Fury does not face AJ, then it should be Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte is likely going to be called as his mandatory next year, so why not fight him now? It's a fight that could happen because Tyson Fury will be looking for a fight if the AJ fight does not happen, and Dillian Whyte is also looking for a fight in the summer, so you cannot lose. I mean, one of them will, but we cannot lose because that's a great fight, and I don't see the point in going down the road of Deontay Wilder again, because that seems to be what they do. If the AJ fight doesn't happen, okay, let's just go to Deontay Wilder again. There are other fighters in the heavyweight division, you know, and I think that Dillian Whyte, Andy Ruiz, there are some great fights that Tyson Fury could have. I don't know why they want to go back down the road of Deontay Wilder again. And of course, this is assuming that Bob Arum is the one who is speaking the truth. He is the one who's saying it is a mirage and the fight is unlikely to happen. I mean, I'm still quite optimistic. I do believe it will happen. But in the event that it doesn't, then AJ knows who he is going to be fighting because he has a mandatory Alexander Usyk. That's another thing about this fight, with the lengthy negotiations and the drawn-out period between saying the fight's going to happen, between it being announced and actually happening, is it's holding up Alexander Usyk versus Joe Joyce, because Usyk is in a position where he is number one, but he must fight Joe Joyce for the interim status. The only thing about that is, why would he fight Joe Joyce if Anthony Joshua is not going to be going in with Tyson Fury and he can have a world title opportunity? So what's he going to do? He's going to wait and try and get AJ. That is what Usyk is doing. That is why negotiations are stalling. But what that is doing in turn is causing the heavyweight division to stagnate. Because that's the whole point of the WBO interim status anyway, so that Usyk can fight for that one and then he's still waiting for his opportunity. But if, say, AJ was fighting undisputed and Usyk was just forced to step aside, then he's a mandatory that will come eventually, and possibly a WBA, IBF, then you get all of these mandatories being called, like there have been with the IBF and WBO. Look how long it's taken to sort that out. And I mean, Usyk has been mandatory since he moved up to heavyweight in 2018, just after the Tony Bellew fight. So in that situation, Usyk is mandatory, but Pulev was mandatory also. Pulev was dealt with in December, but Usyk still hasn't had his opportunity, and we're getting towards May in 2021. So you can see how dealing with these mandatories in chronological order takes time. I mean, look at the situation with Usyk and Pulev. Pulev was dealt with, Usyk is still yet to be dealt with, and we don't know what is going to happen, whether it's going to be Tyson Fury for undisputed, or Usyk, AJ's mandatory, and Usyk is unlikely to commit to Joe Joyce until he knows 100% that AJ is going to fight for undisputed against Tyson Fury. Why would he? If he knows he can get a world title opportunity against AJ and fight for 3 or 4 belts as opposed to fighting for just one interim status against Joe Joyce. So that is why they are holding off with that fight. I mean, Frank Warren has kind of already said that Usyk is waiting to see what happens with this undisputed fight and waiting almost for it to fall apart. Now, having said that, Tyson Fury does still seem keen to fight Anthony Joshua. He did say that he wants to fight him. I mean, he done an Instagram video, or on his story I think, where he said that he wanted to call out Francis Ngannou. Obviously, Ngannou has been talking about crossing over to boxing. Drew McIntyre of the WWE, I believe. I'm not entirely sure about that one. I think he's WWE. But anyway, that guy. And he called out Anthony Joshua in boxing. So he is still keen to get Anthony Joshua in the ring. That is the fight he wants, and he did speak to Eddie Hearn personally, and Eddie Hearn said he felt reassured that Tyson Fury is putting 100% into getting this fight done. So Tyson Fury does want the fight. AJ wants the fight. Eddie Hearn is working hard behind the scenes to ensure this fight happens, and I do believe that he has put a lot into trying to make this fight happen. But sometimes things just don't come together, although in this situation things have kind of come together, but negotiations have been lengthy. And there has been a period of time now where it's gone like they had a site deal in place and they were offered a certain figure, and all of a sudden it's gone a bit cold. But then again, an announcement could be imminent. An announcement could be coming because it has gone quiet. So I would not be surprised if the fight was announced today, tomorrow, the next day, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's not. I mean, we don't know what is going to happen just yet, but the only thing we can do is remain optimistic that the fight will happen. But in the event that it doesn't, who do we want to see Anthony Joshua fight? Well, he's going to fight Usyk because that is his mandatory. Who do we want Tyson Fury to fight? I would say not Deontay Wilder, and I would rather see him in there with Dillian Whyte, Andy Ruiz, but Dillian Whyte is the one. That is the fight to make for Tyson Fury if this undisputed fight does fall through. But I'm not being skeptical, I'm not being pessimistic. I believe that the fight will still happen, and I remain optimistic that Undisputed will take place next, despite what Bob Arum is saying. I hope that it will still go ahead. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.